A very good evening and thank you for joining GBS News at 9. My name is Stephen George and our sign language interpreter tonight is Paul Mudenge. And now, Prime CS Dr. Musalia Mudavadi has called on Kenya and Africa to embrace self-sufficiency and empower the continent's youth in the face of diminishing donor funding. Speaking at inaugural Africa Exchange convening in Nairobi, Mudavadi urged Africa to use its limited resources to more efficiently end corruption and shift away from dependency on foreign aid, focusing on long-term strategies that will help create jobs and drive sustainable growth.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Dr. Musalia Mudavadi has called for Kenya and Africa to seize the opportunity presented by diminishing donor funding to build dignity and self-sufficiency for its youth. Speaking at the inaugural Africa Exchange convening in Nairobi, Mudavadi emphasized that Africa must stop relying on donor-driven aid, which often reinforces dependency, and instead focus on using its limited resources efficiently.
For far too long, we have relied on donor-driven community support models that, though well-intentioned, reinforced dependency rather than promoting self-sufficiency. The moment is here to ask ourselves, how can we support beneficiaries to lift themselves up and chart their future? Africa has long been a recipient of philanthropic aid, but time has come for us to recognize that aid only provides temporary relief that is not sufficient to transform people's lives.
He urged the continent to revive the spirit of Harambee, a Kenyan principle of unity and collective efforts to address challenges and foster sustainable growth.
Here in Kenya, our rallying spirit is Harambee, a slogan which means pulling together. We have actually lost what was the actual principle around the Harambee spirit. So I thought I should just revisit that so that we can really appreciate and restore the good name of the clarion call Harambee.
Mudavadi stressed the importance of investing in youth, who constitute over 70% of Africa's population, and provide them with opportunities to create jobs rather than just seek them.
We must invest more in our youth, who, as everybody knows, constitutes over 70% of Africa's population. They are the architects, disruptors, and builders of a more prosperous Africa.
Mudavadi also pointed out the need for long-term strategies in philanthropy, calling for greater collaboration between governments, the private sector, and philanthropic organizations to ensure that every investment maximizes impact.
Philanthropy must focus on long-term strategies, including building schools, financing innovation, supporting entrepreneurs, and creating an ecosystem for Africa to thrive from within. Philanthropic organizations should collaborate with developed institutions to scale up funding for building ecosystems that enable Africans to create innovative and lead in this new digital age.
With foreign aid diminishing, Mudavadi believes Africa must leverage its resources, innovate and empower its youth to lead to the digital age, reducing the continent's reliance on external aid while fostering sustainable economic growth. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
Chief Justice Emeritus David Maraga and the former Interior CS Honorable Fred Matiang'i are eyeing to occupy the top office in the country. The two leaders, who have served in the same administration led by President Uhuru Kenyatta in influential capacity, are now testing the waters as they aim to unseat President William Ruto. Will they agree to work together in support of one? Davis Karani has prepared a report for us.
Does this class have a
We are talking with people. It is at the end of the day, you know, the choice is the people's choice.
They are two sons from the same county of Kisii, and having served in the same administration in different capacities and in very influential positions, they are now envisioning to take over presidency in the 2027 general elections. And Maraga, who has had differences with the former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta during his tenure due to the failure of his administration to observe the laws of the land, is one among the two sons.
If you asked me, I will tell you, I'm the right one. The other one would also say it's the right one. At the end of the day, it is the people who will decide.
And Matiang'i, who has been a diligent servant to President Uhuru Kenyatta and now being propelled by Jubilee Party, which is still under Uhuru, will be the party's candidate in the 2027 general elections, according to Jubilee Party Secretary General Honorable Jeremiah Kioni.
Watasema Matiang'i yako na makosa sijui 28, 44, whatever number he is given, hiyo ni ya. Lakini hata wamweke jela, tutachagua yeye. Halo.
But since his exit from the government, Matiang'i has never declared his position on running for the top seat in the country, a concern which Odinga once raised in Kisii County as he toured Kisii County.
Kenyan politics is based on arrangements and programs where political parties negotiate for what they take to their counties and areas. We have decided that as a community and as Kenyans, we are also going to set up our own political party. We are going to produce our own candidate who will negotiate with the president and all the other people who are running for political office in this country.
Is Matiang'i being pushed into politics? And between Matiang'i and his brother CJ Emeritus David Maraga, who will be the suitable candidate to scoop the top country seat? Davis Karani, GBS News.
Embu Senator Alexander Munyi Mundingi on Sunday at Trinity SEK Church in Kianjokoma criticized opposition leaders who had anticipated a co-reception for President William Ruto during his recent visit to the Mount Kenya region. He, however, showed gratitude to Mount Kenya residents for the massive turnout and warm embrace of the president, which reflected genuine trust and support, not coercion or handouts, as some had claimed.
Nashukuru sana kwa sababu ya safari ambaye Rais William Ruto na deputy wake Abraham Kidikidhure ambaye walikuja walitembelea Embu County, na ile kazi ile mambo alisema ingine ilikuwa imefanywa na ingine alisema anaendelea kufanya. Mlima tuko county 11, tumeona ile wale watu walikuwa nasema rais wa Kenya asiweze kutembea mlima, tumeona vile amekanyanga mlima na amekanyanga vizuri na miguu mbili, na wamekuja na baraka na sisi tumewapokea. Ingawa kulikuwa changamoto kidogo, na hiyo ningeweza kusema katika Kenya macho ya chura aisui ng'ombe kunywa maji. Kwa hiyo nashukuru sana kwa yale mambo ilifanyika siku ambaye ni Ijumaa.
The senator pointed to the presence of leaders previously critical of the president, including Nyeri County Governor Mutahi Kahiga, as a strong signal that Ruto's development agenda is winning over the skeptics. He urged residents of the vote-rich region to rally behind the Kenya Kwanza administration, saying it is the surest path to tangible development and economic empowerment.
Nihakikishie watu wa Mount Kenya, hiyo tena siku moja itakuwa mbesi. Ile tu ni sisi tuweze kuwashikilia juu ya miaka hii, imebakia miaka ingine 2 na ingine 5. Nataka kuhakikishia sisi watu wa Embu County, rais wa Kenya tutampatia miaka ingine. Kwa hivyo atakuwa maliza kipindi yake ya miaka 10. Kwa hivyo ningeomba tushikilie deputy Professor Abraham Kidikidhure, ndio wale vijana watakuwako 2032. Hata sisi tutakuwa na ndume yetu ambaye atakuwa ametoka Mount Kenya.
Mundingi also dismissed opposition figures who are falling out with the government, accusing them of peddling misinformation and attempting to mislead Kenyans with unverified claims.
Governor wa Nyeri ambaye ni Mutahi Kahiga ambaye alikuwa na oppose rais wa Kenya na hii serikali ndiye alikuwa anawakaribisha. Kwa hivyo ningesema hakuna kitu kama hiyo, ni vile unakuta watu wote hawezi kuwa wote kwa serikali. Lakini nataka niambie vile iko hata njusi hapa kama Embu County ile nimetoka, Mbere South kulikuwa sawa, Runyenje kulikuwa sawa, mali kulikuwa na matatizo kidogo, ni kwa sababu mmoja ambaye ako kwa ile mrengo ya wale wachache ambaye ni MP moja ambaye ni Mkonji ndio hapo kulitokea makosa kidogo, kwa sababu alienda aliingia mbele ya rais kuingia, akafanya makosa kuingia kwa mkutano, na ni makosa. Ndio nasema mtu akitaka mkutano yake ni aende atengeneze mkutano yake, kwa sababu tuko nchi ya demokrasia. Hata mimi kama unipendi kwako, hakuna haja ya kuja. Ile kitu ningeomba ni tuwe na amani, ndio county zetu ndio waweze kupata ile kitu inafaa.
The senator's remarks come amid increased political activity in Mount Kenya as both government and opposition camps jostle for influence ahead of the 2027 general elections. This is Jeff Abuki, GBS TV News.
Moving swiftly, Githunguri Member of Parliament has today reported to the DCI headquarters in Kiambu that her life is in danger. The Member of Parliament, who has been so vocal against President William Ruto's administration, claims the government is responsible for the threats on her life. Let's listen.
By the time the media was arriving, hizo Subaru zilikuwa zimepotea. My life is in danger.
Early in the day, Githunguri MP was a guest at the DCI headquarters in Kiambu to write a statement that her life was in danger.
Kwa sasa kwa sababu tumeongea na DCIO, tumeongea na wale wamesimamia maneno ya ulinzi Kiambu County. We have spoken with the county commissioner Bwana Mkadha. Tumeongea na the regional criminal investigation officer Dr. Mugambi ambaye anaishi Nyeri, na nimemweleza ya kwamba Githunguri tunataka amani, na Githunguri mama alindwe. Kulikuwa na gari nyingi sana za Subaru zilikuwa zimeletwa huko. Wananchi wanaishi na mimi ndio walinisaidia. Wakaanza kupiga hizo Subaru mapicha. Wakati hizo Subaru ziliona zinapigwa picha wakapotea. By the time the media was arriving, hizo Subaru zilikuwa zimepotea. My life is in danger. I need to be protected as a leader, as a woman leader in Kiambu County.
The vocal anti-Ruto's administration MP is pointing a finger at the government.
And this is going to attract the wrath of God. I am calling upon the President of the Republic of Kenya, who is the Chief Executive of the Republic of Kenya. You must rise up to the occasion and prove to us that you are the Christian you claim you are. You must prove to us that you are really the Christian that you have always told us you are.
She further condemns yesterday's incident where goons attacked former DP Rigathi Gachagua at the PCEA church in Kasarani. She cites the government's inaction.
Wakati watu walirushiwa tear gas Nyandarua hukuongea. Wakati tear gas iliwekwa kwa kanisa kule Nyahururu hukuongea. Wakati mawe imerushwa kanisa ya ACK Nyeri hukuongea. Jana mawe ilirushwa kanisa ya PCA Mweki hukuongea. Na wewe ni Mkristiano.
In the same token, Gachagua blamed the government over the attacks.
But sending goons ndani ya kanisa. Rais, what happened to you? Ndani ya kanisa. Surely. Hao watu ya kanisa ndio walikuombea. Sasa wewe umefika kiwango. Ulinitumia goons Limuru kwa funeral wakatuangaisha, tukasema ni sawa. The other December ukatutumia goons huko Shamata wakatuangaisha, tukasema ni sawa. Last week ulikuwa umetuma watu huko Nyeri nje ya kanisa. Sasa umekuja mpaka umeingia ndani ya kanisa.
Victor June, GBS News at 9.
Great report there. The High Court has cleared the way for the auction of properties owned by Moses Kuria following his failure to settle a long-standing loan. Justice Alem Visram delivered the ruling today authorizing the auction of Kuria's properties, which include apartment blocks located in Ruaka, Juja, Kiambu counties. Graham Investment Limited, the appointed auctioneer, is scheduled to proceed with the sale on Tuesday, April 8th. This court decision Foundation follows a legal dispute in which Kuria attempted to halt the auction, claiming he was in the process of repaying the debt. However, the auctioneers presented evidence indicating Kuria had been repeatedly notified of the outstanding debt and the impending auction before the matter escalated to court. The Justice Visram ruled that Kuria failed to provide sufficient evidence to prevent the auction, emphasizing the importance of fulfilling our financial obligations. The properties in question are part of wider trend of residential properties across Kenya being placed under auction. Well, it is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 21144. We'll be right back.
Water remains to be the world's most precious commodity, but is the most misused. In times of drought, saving water is the only solution to making sure you have it. Don't use the shower when water is scarce. Instead, use the basin while bathing. Repair all leaking taps and pipes. Wash your car only whenever necessary. If not, use a piece of cloth to wipe it clean. Do not use the hose pipe to water your garden. Instead, use the water you clean your vegetable with to water your flowers. Do not release wastewater into rivers. Note that your downstream is someone else's upstream. Of all the waters available on Earth, only 1% is fit for human consumption. Every drop counts.
Today, it's that day that I would like us just to have that conversation on monthly matters.
Let's talk of Mama Fua, who like akifanya shughuli zake hapa kule has more or less that amount.
Yeah, so on that part, I would say this. When you are doing your savings, you can have, we normally talk about having 3 buckets. So we will just talk about income, budgeting, saving, and investment. Those are the 4 areas we will look at.
Happened to those like me who are planning to retire early.
We are basically looking at our incomes. We also talk about savings and investment. So those are the 3. I will not add the 4th one, which we all shy of talking about. So I would say it's not how much I am earning, but it is how much I set aside. So
everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back. Now, in a milestone for Kenya Navy families, 100 young dependents have graduated from a vocational training program in plumbing and electrical work. The program, a partnership between the Family Group Foundation and the Military Wives Association of Kenya, equips graduates with both technical skills and financial literacy. Chief of Defense Forces General Charles Kahariri attended the ceremony and praised the initiative's positive impact on the future.
100 dependents of Kenya servicemen and women have graduated from a vocational training program focused on plumbing and electrical skills. This marks the 3rd cohort in a partnership between the Family Group Foundation and the Military Wives Association of Kenya. Chief of Defense Forces General Charles Kahariri, who attended the ceremony praised the program for equipping young people with not only technical skills, but also soft skills and financial literacy, ensuring they are ready for the job market.
I was really impressed to see the kit that they have been provided for that will enable them to take up life either as entrepreneurs or in employment in the future.
Family Bank invested over 55 million in the program, which has seen 87% of graduates attain National Construction Authority accreditation. Many have secured jobs, while others are exploring entrepreneurship or upscaling in solar energy. These outcomes reflect the transformative impact of vocational training in empowering youth and strengthening families.
We need to really continue strengthening this partnership with the military so that we can really support them in supporting their own families. When you go to Europe, the plumbers and the carpenters and electricians are highly remunerated. We are not different as we move towards a middle class economy. These skills get highly remunerated.
Military Wives Association of Kenya chairperson Grace Kahariri noted the importance of the Kenya Navy's support in co-sponsoring 50 students along with the foundation's contribution.
To date, 198 young people have been benefited with 50 among them co-sponsored by the Kenya Navy. Thank you, Kenya Navy Commander, for this and for gracing the launch of this training and for supporting Cohort 3.
This initiative continues to offer valuable skills and opportunities for KDF families, and both organizations are committed to expanding the program, ensuring even more young people can build successful, sustainable careers. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
Moving swiftly, Health Cabinet Secretary Eden Duale has established a dedicated committee to tackle the substantial 33 billion shillings backlog of medical claims facing the National Health Insurance Fund, or NHIF. This significant financial burden accrued between July 2022 and September 2024 necessitates a thorough review led by James Masiro. The committee is charged with the meticulous verification of these outstanding bills with a strict 90-day deadline to ensure only legitimate claims are processed for payment. Mr. Edwin Duale stressed the critical need for transparency and accountability in this process, highlighting the government's commitment to rebuild public trust in healthcare financing and providing relief to healthcare providers experiencing financial strain. The committee's responsibilities extend beyond simple verification. They are also tasked with identifying and addressing any instances of fraud or corruption within the claims. Anne Wamai will serve as a vice chairperson, and the team will comprise a range of experts including Edward Kiplimo and Catherine Karori Bosire, with administrative support from a secretariat headed by Peter Kitheka.
As we embark on this assignment for us years, we need to take note of the stock of debts before us. We are aware of the desire to scrutinize, examine every bill to ensure that we recommend what is quality and what is payable.
This committee has been established to provide an independent, thorough, and transparent review of the medical claims submitted to the defunct NHIF. All genuine claims of healthcare providers will be paid, and this committee will be held responsible for the payment made to services not provided.
The Office of the Director of Public Prosecution has announced that it has received the police inquiry file from the Directorate of Criminal Investigation (DCI) regarding the death of Agnes Wanjiku Wanjiru. This follows the completion of DCI investigation into the case, recognizing the significant time that has passed since the tragic incident. The DPP has formed a team of senior prosecutors to conduct a thorough review of the file. The DPP has assured the family of Agnes Wanjiku Wanjiru and the public that they remain committed to deliver justice in this matter. They emphasize that any decision regarding charges will be made in strict adherence to the Constitution, the decision to charge guidelines 2019 and all applicable laws. The public is promised updates as the case progresses. The DPP reiterated their dedication to uphold their constitutional mandate, acting in accordance with the rule of law, public interest, and the administration of justice. The prime suspect in the murder of Multimedia University student Sylvia Kemunto, Philip Eric Mutinda, has been detained for 21 days to allow police to complete their investigation. Mutinda, a 19-year-old first-year electrical engineering student at MMU, surrendered to authorities on April 3rd, 2025 at Sultan Mahmud Police Station in Makueni County after being linked to the crime. Sylvia Kemunto, a first-year student of mass communications and computer science, which they set ablaze after removing the cattle. Incidents of cattle theft have been on the rise not only in Bondo sub-county but the entire Siaya County, with the residents accusing the police of laxity.
The village has been complaining about insecurity. All over time, people have been complaining that their cows has been taken away with foreign people, of which we don't know them, and we would like to request the government to come into this with a lot of consideration, because our cows were stolen today, and this has been complaining. Hii imekuwa ikifanyika kwa sababu polisi wamekuwa we have been reporting to them and they have not been taking action. Kwa ngombe walichukua ngombe 7 hapa kwa karibu, na the action that we have taken is that we have reported to the police and they reported here late. What they did is just to rescue the driver, of which we found inside the vehicle.
Sasa kwa ile kitu ambayo imetendeka hapa, sisi tumechoka na uwezi wa kuchukua ng'ombe hapa. Tumepiga ripoti mara mingi sana kwa mapolisi ama kwa machiefs wetu na watu wa Jogweng pia. Na tumepiga ripoti na sisi naye hatuoni ile kitu inaendelea, hatuoni hata stopping wa wezi hapa hivi. Hatuoni.
As the Congolese government and Rwanda-backed M23 rebels prepare for direct talks in Doha this week, residents of Goma and experts alike are divided between cautious hope and deep skepticism. With the region still gripped by violence and displacement, the talks hold the potential for peace, but many fear they will only mark another failed attempt to end the long-running conflict.
As the Congolese government and Rwanda-backed M23 rebels prepare for the direct talks in Doha this week, the atmosphere in Goma is charged with a mix of hope and skepticism.
This is not the first time they have sat together claiming they have reached the agreement, but they don't, and then they start fighting again. May God touch their hearts so that they can agree and we can find peace.
Goma, which has been under rebel control since January, remains a city divided, caught between the yearning for peace and the fear of more betrayal. Amidst the conflict, Others like Leon Kionga hold on to a fragile optimism, urging both sides to come to a lasting agreement that would end the suffering.
I believe they'll find a solution, but call on out to the Congolese government and those occupying Goma to come to an agreement, because if not, the population could die of hunger.
Analyst Ubet Masomeko points out that, unlike past negotiations, this one is being kept discreet and confidential, giving it a glimmer of hope.
This is a major step forward since the start of the crisis. There have been deep distrust between the two sides. This time, there is willingness to engage in direct talks. I believe it offers a glimmer of hope.
But the M23 is still active in key cities like Goma and Bukavu, and the Congolese government deep mistrust of Rwanda-backed forces suggests that any agreement would be hand-won. Paris Kigo, GBS News.
To other international news, after months of strained relations, France and Algeria have resumed diplomatic talks aimed at mending their ties. The talks come after a series of disputes, including France's controversial support for an autonomy plan for Western Sahara, which angered Algeria and led to a significant decline in trade and
France and Algeria have resumed diplomatic talks to mend strained relations after months of tension. The dispute escalated last year when French President Emmanuel Macron supported an autonomy plan for Western Sahara, therefore angering Algeria. This led to a 30% drop in trade and a halt in security cooperation, including efforts against Islamist militants. France has accused Algeria of trying to eliminate its economic presence, further damaging ties. However, French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot emphasized the importance of renewing cooperation for the benefit of both nations, noting the deep historical and cultural connections between them. The French Foreign Minister visited Algeria yesterday to mark a first step toward rebuilding these vital relations, with both sides recognizing the need for collaboration in facing shared challenges like regional instability and terrorism. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
African Union mediators arrived in South Sudan's capital, Juba, to lead talks aimed at preventing the country from falling back into civil war after first Vice President Riek Machar was placed under house arrest. Rising violence between government forces and Machar's opposition has sparked fears of a renewed conflict just years after the 2013-2018 civil war ended with a fragile peace deal.
African Union mediators arrived in South Sudan's capital, Juba, on Wednesday to facilitate crucial talks aimed at averting the country's slide back into civil war. The discussions come after a dramatic escalation in tensions, including the house arrest of first Vice President Riek Machar last week. Machar, a former rebel leader and long-term rival to President Salva Kiir, is accused by the government of attempting to incite a new rebel. Clashes between key South Sudan's People Defense Forces and Machar's opposition forces have intensified since January, sparking fears that the country may regress to the violence that plagued it from 2013 to 2018. The situation remains precarious, with the transitional government expressing a strong commitment to peace. Martin Elia Romuro, South Sudan Minister of the Cabinet Affairs, reaffirmed the government goal of ending the conflict and achieving sustainable peace through a revitalized unity government. However, Machar's opposition party is calling for the immediate release of their leader, adding further complexity to the ongoing negotiations. As African Union mediators work to de-escalate the situation, all eyes are on Juba to see whether these talks can prevent a return to full-scale civil war. Paris Kigo, GBS News.
Moving on swiftly, at least 30 people have died in catastrophic flooding in Kinshasa, the capital of Democratic Republic of Congo, after heavy rains caused the Njili River to overflow. The floods have left several neighborhoods without power and water, and authorities are working to repair the damage with promises to restore essential services within the next few days.
At least 30 people have died in severe flooding in Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, after heavy rains caused the Njili River to overflow its banks. The flooding led to the collapse of homes, with many residents unable to escape in time, resulting in a tragic loss of life, while others were forced to seek refuge on the roofs of their houses as the water continued to rise. With the roads impassable and electricity cut off in many areas, the situation grew increasingly dire. Residents expressed their grief and disbelief, unable to understand how such a catastrophe could strike their community.
It is really strange what's going on. We don't understand what's happening to bring us to this level. I am in tears because I've never seen such a catastrophe. God help us.
It's really sad what's happening. We've lost a lot. There are shops completely damaged. There are destroyed vehicles. Houses have collapsed. People are dead. Others are trapped. Some people have even taken refuge on the roofs of their houses.
The rains were worsened by poorly maintained drainage systems that couldn't handle the overwhelming water. Authorities are still assessing the damage, but the death toll is expected to rise as flooding waters recede, with fears that more bodies will be discovered in the submerged areas.
We can't make an exact assessment right now, because as you can see, looking at the water level, it is likely that when the water goes down, we'll also find dead bodies inside.
As the city deals with the aftermath, there are growing calls for improved flood management and infrastructure to prevent such tragedies in the future. Chiza Tiengo, GBS News.
Ukrainians are in a state of mourning following a deadly Russian missile strike in the central metropolitan city. The deadly missile strike have killed 20 people, including 11 adults and 9 children. The victims' age ranges from the youngest being 3 years old and the oldest being 79 years of age. Furthermore, Ukrainians are holding a vigil for 3 days to honor those who lost their lives. Here is more on the story.
Ukrainians in the central city of Kryvyi held a vigil after a deadly Russian missile claimed the lives of 20 people, including 9 children. Mourners held a vigil at the site of the missile strike, honoring the lives lost. Russia conducted one of its deadliest missile attacks to date, making the prospect of achieving ceasefire to be in a state of limbo.
Talking to Russia, would like them to stop. I don't like the bombing. The bombing goes on, and every week people and thousands of young people are being killed. And it's a horrible thing that should have never started, would have never started if I were president, 100%.
The mayor of Kryvyi has stated that the recent strike was the deadliest in the city, which is regularly attacked by Russia. The victims' ages ranged from 3 years old to the oldest being 79. 33 people, including 4 children, are in a hospital dealing with serious injuries. The airstrike happened near a playground where many Ukrainian children were present. The deadly airstrike that happened in a playground highlights the brutal nature of the Russian-Ukraine war. With no ending in sight, the future of Ukraine remains uncertain. This is Abdi Hamid Ali, GBS News.
Today, Israel launched dozens of airstrikes across the Gaza Strip. The Israeli airstrike killed 20 people, including a Palestinian journalist. Gaza continues to be the deadliest place for journalists, with the total number of journalists killed being more than 210. Meanwhile, in Iraqi militant group who are funded and supported by Iran have stated that they are ready to disarm after receiving threats from the Trump administration. This further that Iran is slowly losing their influence in the Middle East. Abdi reports.
the Israeli military struck a tent outside Nasser Hospital that housed civilians and journalists. The airstrike caused massive fires that burned the tents to the ground, killing the inhabitants, including a journalist named Helmi Al-Faqawi, who was burned alive. Gaza continues to be the deadliest place for journalists, with more than 210 journalists killed since October 2023. Meanwhile, in Iraq, several Iranian-backed militant groups have stated that they are ready to disarm their weapons as a way to avoid having a confrontation with the US. The Trump administration have issued multiple warnings to the militants. The militant group is divided into 10 Shia factions with 50,000 soldiers and multiple weapons, including missiles and anti-aircraft weapons. The militant groups are part of Iran's axis of resistance to counter US and Israeli influence in the Middle East. Iran's influence in the Middle East has weakened following the assault on Hamas and Hezbollah by Israel, the Houthis by the US, and the fall of the Assad regime in Syria. Iran has received numerous threats from the US demanding that they should end their nuclear program or face major escalation. Iran has stated that they are open to have an indirect talks with the US via Oman. Netanyahu and Trump will meet later today to discuss a variety of issues ranging from the war in Gaza, Iran, and Trump's tariffs. The world will be watching as tensions in the Middle East continues to escalate and the human cost in Gaza continues to rise. This is Abdi Hamid Ali, GBS News.
It's time for your favorite segment of the show, the sports news. Let's get sporty. North Korea hosted its 31st Pyongyang International Marathon, marking the first since the COVID-19 pandemic. The event saw hundreds of runners, including 200 international participants, taken to the streets of the capital as part of the celebrations for the Kim Sang's birthday. With the country borders largely closed, this race provided a rare opportunity for the outsiders to experience lifetime experience in North Korea. In the end, it was North Korean athletes who claimed victory, dominating both the men and women races.
North Korea hosted the 31st Pyongyang International Marathon, first since the COVID-19 pandemic. Hundreds of runners, including 200 foreigners, raced through the streets of Pyongyang. They were cheered on by the locals. The event, which is part of celebrations for North Korea founder Kim Il-sung's birthday, is North Korea's largest international sporting contest. With North Korea's borders largely closed, the marathon gave foreign participants a rare chance to visit. A Beijing-based tour company, one of the few allowed to operate in the country, brought in athletes from China, Romania, Morocco, and Ethiopia. North Korean runners took top honors, with Park Gum-dong winning the men's race in 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 11 seconds, while Jeon Sung-gyeong claimed the women's title with a time of 2 hours, 25 minutes, and 50 seconds. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
Well, we have come to the end of the news bulletin. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again, same time, same channel. We make your news our business. My name is Stephen George, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been Paul Madenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.